So what's the difference between a custom, a semi-custom, and a tract home? That's what you're gonna find out in this video. If you like what you see here, please like, subscribe, ask questions. I'm always happy to answer any questions or find the answer for you if I need to. So the difference between a custom home, a semi-custom home, and a tract home. In Silicon Valley, it seems that many and most of the homes were tract homes at one point. And it doesn't really matter where it is that you go. A lot of the times where you'll see the custom homes and the initial custom homes that they were are going to be kind of off the grid, so to speak. And off the grid really kind of looks many times like either more out in the country in the rural areas or up in the hills, and kind of the more custom type of idea of a home. And sometimes you can see some really interesting homes that were built custom. And even now, you see very interesting homes that are built custom. And the reason for it is that many times and sometimes when somebody's doing a custom home, they're working directly with the builder. So working directly with the builder means that they've hired an individual contractor or home builder, and that contractor or home builder is going to what they call sub out all of the work. So what happens there is the builder or the contractor who subs out the work, the contractor or the general contractor, the GC that's also many times called, they tend to be builders, and they have a certain license, a specific license that gives them the ability to subcontract out the work. Subcontracting out the work means that they are bringing in other contractors who don't have the entire ability, or their license does not cover everything. Let's say that a general contractor is going to have someone do floors. Well, they're going to have a subcontractor come in as the floor contractor. Same with plumbing. They'll have a subcontractor come in as the plumber. And those individual contractors will then be licensed in their own arena, so to speak, or their specialty. The flooring guy will be specializing in the floors, and the plumber will be specializing in plumbing, electricity, electrical, specializing in electrical, so on and so forth. Sometimes the painters will do the drywall work, all sorts of different things. Sometimes they'll do the framing as well, right? So ultimately, the builder is going to do the specific or the specs that the client wants them to do. Now, with that in mind, does it become more expensive to work specifically on an individual custom home? It does. And the reason for it is what you're doing is you're purchasing many times the land itself. Sometimes that land will have a house on it already, and then they're going to scrape that house that's there currently. And if there's not a house there, then they're going to have to pay for the electricity to be brought in, the sewer to be brought in, everything that isn't currently there, they have to bring that in. And so that makes it more expensive. The land itself may not be as expensive to start with, but ultimately, at the end of it all, it is going to become more expensive. It becomes more expensive because they purchased the land, and now after purchasing the land, they need to build. And so that's why a custom home is more expensive. Many times, and as I mentioned, here in Silicon Valley, many times all of the different areas that you look at were at one point tract homes. Now, as those tract of homes have become older, many times people will come in and they will kind of do a semi-custom home at that point. And what they're doing is they're taking the existing lot. They're taking the existing lot and they'll do either a heavy remodel on that home or they'll do a remodel to that home. And I would call that a semi-custom build. The reason being is that you really have to work with what you already have. And if you are redoing a home inside of a tract, you don't want to take that home and make it look completely different than everything else there. For example, there are many places in Silicon Valley that have Eichler homes. And the Eichler homes were built starting back in the late 1940s and into the 50s and 60s. And the Eichler homes, the whole purpose and the whole idea was to bring the outside in. So whenever you walk through the Eichler home, everything is going to be very window. You're going to have picture windows everywhere when you're walking through the Eichler home. And you have a fence on the outside. So really, once you're past that front fence, everything on the inside is really more private. And that is what made it easy for Eichler to bring the outside in. It didn't start that way. In some neighborhoods, if you take an Eichler home and you turn it into a current, more of a traditional build, it's not going to look right inside the entire tract. What you can do typically with an Eichler home or something of that nature that was built specifically for the area and for that tract is to do a heavy remodel on it. And then inside of that heavy remodel, you can do things here and there that are more specific to your desire. So to recap so far, if you look at a custom build, the custom build is going to be with the general contractor or the GC or the builder, all the same person ultimately, and they're going to take the orders from the client who is building the home. And they'll have specifics from the ground all the way up to the top. And it's not going to just be what's called finishes as far as water faucets, cabinets, the countertops and things of that nature. It's going to be everything. And some custom homes are pretty incredible. A semi-custom home build is going to be something that's inside of a tract, and it is a purchase for an individual who wants to do a heavy remodel. And I would consider that to be a semi-custom home. And as far as the finishes there, they can choose any finishes that they want to. Ultimately, they can make the home look however they want to. But the reason it becomes a semi-custom home is because you're really at the mercy of the tract itself. And so again, in the Eichler tract, you can't take that and put a traditional home in there. It just doesn't look right. And if you're in a traditional home, to take it and make it modern, to be the first modern home on the street, again, it stands out. So you will have to make some changes here and there. Not to say that people don't do it. It just makes it more difficult. And if you do put a modern build inside of a traditional build neighborhood or tract, then you are pretty much doing a custom build at that point. So then we switch over to tract homes. And a tract home is going to be a cookie cutter home that is built by an individual builder or a group. And that group is going to have their own specific plans already laid out. Many times the tract will be 10, 15, 20, 25 homes that are all laid out. Now, somebody can come in and they can choose the different fixtures that they want, the different finishings that they want, but they're going to be very specific in what they can and cannot do. The reason being is that this is a more efficient and more cost-effective way for someone to build a home or to have a home built. And really what they're doing is they're going along with what the builder has already set out, and they're going along with what the builder wants to do. There is nothing wrong with doing this. It is very important to pay attention to the builder's history and to make sure that there are no outstanding issues with this builder who has built in the past. And the reason that I say that is that when you are doing and working with a new construction tract, that entire tract is many times going to have a homeowners association. The homeowners association will take care of the neighborhood itself. And that homeowners association is going to make sure that everything is being done properly as far as the house are being taken care of. You have specifics as far as what color you can paint the door many times, as far as what type of driveway you can put in, as far as the pitch of the driveway, where you can put the driveway. And so there are different limitations that you do have to pay attention to when you're buying into a tract type of a home. And so the tract type of home that you are buying into, you do want to look at the specifics for the CC&Rs. You want to take a look at the specifics for the homeowners association. CC&Rs are going to be the specifics of the homeowners association that you have to abide by. And many times the basic CC&Rs is you can't have cattle and you can't have livestock, right? So it's kind of the basics of that. On a 5,000 square foot lot, many times you don't want a horse or a cow. And so when you're looking at the tract home, that's kind of what you're looking at there. So it's a wonderful way to purchase a new home when you're purchasing a home that you don't want to have had anybody else in at any point in time. And so ultimately, those are really the three main criteria as far as a custom build, a semi-custom build, and a tract home. All wonderful ways to go. The custom build is going to be the most expensive by far. The semi-custom build will be less expensive than the custom build, but not by too much of a stretch. And the tract home will be the most affordable, the least expensive. You'll have less choices inside the tract home. However, it makes it much easier because you do not have to go through all of the rigmarole that you have to go through in the custom and the semi-custom that you have to go through as far as the permitting goes. You have to get permits through the county, through the city. It's not the most fun thing in the world. And especially after COVID, the city and the county, everybody is really still working through the COVID timeline, which is extremely frustrating for all of us. And I'm sure it's frustrating for them as well because they don't have their staff back to full capacity yet. But that's a whole separate issue. So again, custom build, semi-custom build, and tract homes. If you have any questions on this or anything else, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. Always here and happy to help. Phone number is 408-393-9294. Take care.